Welcome everyone to the Umanayana podcast. I'm your host, Josh Jaipal, and today we have a very special guest on International Men's Day. We have Dr. G. My brother, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks you for having me.
Absolutely. For our audience out here, for those who might not be familiar with you, I would love to turn the mic over to you for you to introduce yourself as you see fit, my bro.
Yeah, man. Again, thanks for having me. It's actually an honor to be here on Men's Health Day in November as well, which
Absolutely.
it's one of my projects as well that I'm running. I'll talk about it later. My name is Dr. G. I'm an osteopath by training. I'm also a pranic healer. I'm all the way from Melbourne, Australia, and it's actually a privilege to be here with you today. And I've been in health for a long time, as long as I can remember. I started when I was 16, 17 in a gym, and when I went into that gym, I remember then I went there for self-defense lessons because that gym offered karate lessons, and I just moved from my home, 600 kilometers away from my parents. I went to this place. It was a bit of a rough neighborhood, so I didn't know anybody there. So I needed some sort of self-defense thing. What I thought, but what I walked into a gym, which for me just turned into a health journey. So I started, doing weights, started training. As a 16-year-old, I didn't know what I was doing. But within a year, I was like, this actually, this thing works. And then I turned it into uh, a business. And I was starting to help other people. So I started to train people and I see people start to, change, their lives start to change. I'm like, this is cool. But I was 16, back home as a 16-year-old, things like fitness is not something that you can take as a career, right?
Mm.
So I was trained. I was finishing high school. I was gonna finish and then go into engineering. Going to be an engineer of some sort. Of which I, got into university, studied engineering for 2 years, and then I came to Australia to continue my engineering journey. But as I understand it now, from the my experience, that when the universe has something in line for you, it has to go that way, right?
Yeah.
So I was not meant to be an engineer, right? So there were obstacles, after obstacles in my engineering journey that was pushing me back, kept pushing me back to health until I came across osteopathy, which literally just for me just was that complete system that I felt aligned with. At the time, I was a ballroom dancer, and I was talking to one of my coaches. Telling him that I have back pain that's troubling me. My hamstrings were quite tight because I was also playing soccer at the time.
Mm.
He was like, go and see my osteopath. Okay, what is an osteopath? I don't know what an osteopath is at the time. And it's like, now just take this card, give her a call. I give her a call. She's booked out 3 months in advance.
Wow.
I'm like, ah. So my curious mind was like, okay, okay. Because before then I had seen a physio, I've seen a chiro. So I'm like, 3 months in advance. That's ridiculous, right? Anyway, I booked the appointment and I let it go. And what happened is, again, the things that the universe does. The day before my appointment, I got the reminder message. The day before, I went and played soccer and I strained myself really badly.
Oh,
Like
wow.
I went in for a tackle and I think I tore my hamstrings.
Ooh.
I could not walk. That day was Sunday. I had to pop painkillers, and when I saw her on Monday, I was limping. It was literally hard to walk.
Mm.
And I sit there, I look at her, I tell her what my problem is. And she looks at me, she's like, I know what your problem is. I'm like, how do you know? I just told you my story. You haven't even looked at me, touched me or anything. She's like, I know. She puts me on the bed, on the table, and literally 45 minutes later, I hop off the bed and I'm walking properly.
Wow.
Almost no pain. I was like, hmm, this is interesting. So
Yeah.
I ask her, I'm like, what is this thing? Like, what did you just do to me? And because she was that busy, she gave me osteopathy textbook to go and read about osteopathy because she realized that I was curious about it. She gives me the textbook. She says, "Go and read. You'll tell me you'll find out about yourself for yourself." So I go home. I read literally the first chapter. I decided I am going to enroll into osteopathy.
Wow. That's
First
all it
chapter
took.
of the foundations. And again, still at that point, I had no idea what I was reading or where it's going to take me. So I was like, you know what, I am going to enroll into this. So I got back to her the following week for the follow-up treatment, and I tell her that I'm going to enroll. How do I enroll? Luckily for me, she knew people at the universities that offer osteopathy. She gave me their contacts. I immediately messaged them. I literally applied directly to the school. I didn't go through the normal admissions process where you apply
Right.
to the school. They send the application to the osteo school. I applied directly to them, and because I was getting in as a mature student, I think I was 28 at the time, so it was a lot easier for me to get in.
Okay.
And then that's how it started. And then from there, everything started flowing into the next, because osteopathy is a holistic program. It's a holistic way it was created by A.T. Still over 150 years ago. He created in a way that it encompasses the physical body, the mind, and the spirit. But
Mhm.
over time, and that's the thing that got me to actually enroll into it. Because when I first read that first chapter, that's the thing that said, "This is you, this is me."
Right.
That part spoke to me. So I got in with that excitement, right? So I was so excited knowing that this is me, that's something that aligns with me. But when I got in, unfortunately over time I realized that there's some stuff that had been stripped down
Okay.
because of science and some stuff, the spiritual side of things you can't put
Right.
in an Excel sheet, right? So
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
medicine just kind of stripped it down to basically to a point where it's just the physical stuff.
Right.
Anyway, I loved it so much, but I knew, and I went and learned from different people, different mentors. I traveled around the country just to observe osteos, to learn different aspects of the profession, which was really helpful. And I picked what I needed to pick from there. And then I continued. I finished my studies. But at the end, when I finished going to practice, there's still something missing, right?
Mhm.
I'm helping people, but people are coming back. They keep coming
Okay.
back, same pain. But in my head, like osteopathy, the first principle of osteopathy is the body is a unit of function. The second one says the body, the third one says the body has its own healing mechanism. So if the body can heal itself, why are these people coming back? Why do they keep coming
Right.
back?
Yeah.
That's the question that keeps burning in my head, you know. But for some reason, that went into self-doubt. Am I doing something bad? What am I doing? But then I realized, no, this is not me. It's just but there's something that is missing. And at the time as well, I was also struggling with my own back pain, which was annoying because I know the body heals itself, and I believed that. That's something that I truly, truly believed, but
Right.
I was not seeing on the outside. You know what I mean? I
Understand.
was, I
Yeah.
was like, something is just missing. There was one time, when it changed and everything changed. I was sitting, treating this patient, and she asked me a question: "When will my back heal? My back pain heal?" I'm like, "It'll heal." I didn't give her time. I said it'll heal because the body heals itself.
Mhm.
And I stopped at that end of the sentence of like, if the body heals itself, why is my back pain still
Right.
here?
Yeah.
And then that from there it took me into trajectory of, there is something that I'm missing. So I actually enrolled into psychology now I wanted to study psychology. So I enrolled into psychology degree to understand the
Wow.
psychology part of pain.
Okay.
So at the time, I'm working full time. I've got a kid. I think he was always 5, and literally I have no time to put on a full time degree into my schedule.
Mhm.
Anyway, I was like, I'm gonna do it, and I luckily was online, so I can do everything online. After the first it was 3 trimester system. The first trimester, still something was not gelling. Psychology was not the thing um, I that gelled with me. So
Okay.
again, I kept pushing. I'm like, okay, this is just the first trimester. Maybe it'll just build on to something that will produce or will align with what I'm trying to do.
Mhm.
And it didn't happen, right? And then at the end of that trimester, something tragic happened at the time in my profession. I'll talk about it later. That again, that obstacle that the universe throws in the way.
Right.
Throws the obstacle. This is a big one that's, it's huge. And it plays with my mind. I couldn't really focus. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to defer. So I deferred my studies. I didn't even do the exams because literally it was a week before we started the exams. And I didn't have the mental capacity to do the exams. So I
Right.
deferred. Um, and then within like a week, Facebook starts to suggest things for me. Talks about this NLP thing, NLP,
Mm.
NLP this, NLP that. I'm like, what the hell is this NLP thing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Another one, right?
I know, I'm like, what? Anyway, and then 2 weeks later, NLP. Okay, 3 weeks later, it kept repeatedly like right in my face. And then eventually, I'm like, okay, maybe I should look into this thing again. There was a course that was run by one of the NLP schools in Sydney. I just jumped on. At the time, I signed up for a course. I thought it was NLP. Turned out to be hypnosis.
Mm.
But it's the 3-day hypnosis course that is run by the same school. It's kind of an intro to NLP training. So
Okay.
I jumped in, and all of a sudden my mind is blown by all this stuff. Like the stuff that I didn't know. They talk about we create pain. And how do
Hmm.
we create pain? Uh, I thought pain was just an external thing, just happened. But how do we create it? And it goes into it, and then they actually tell us that we can actually uncreate it because we create it now, we can uncreate it. Like, how?
Mm.
So this may be the answer to the question that has been burning in my head. And then I enroll into NLP training. I did practitioner training. I did master practitioner training. And in master practitioner training in that school, they have this technique. They call it back pain technique. That literally you sit across someone they're sitting on a table. You sit on a table. You talk to them. They're in pain, and
Mhm.
within 5-10 minutes, their pain is gone by just asking them one question.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
No, I'm like, aha, okay. So and then that started to roll into, and I started to learn more about energy, and this is where I am now. So still with the physical side of osteopathy, and then combining it with energy healing, with mind training as well, mindset training. So I think now I have the complete system that for me anyway, that's my thing,
Yeah.
that helps people, that helps me understand people who are struggling with chronic pain, where their struggles are and how they can get out of those struggles if they choose to, because again, it's a decision that they make, right? So and then that experience, it's been it was 30 years in the making, basically,
Gotcha.
for me to be where I am with all these um, different aspects. But I strongly believe, like I said, everything is put in front of us for a reason. Had I not gone through that experience, I wouldn't understand pain how I understand it now. I wouldn't be able uh, to to create the changes in people that I'm creating at the moment.
Okay. Wonderful, man. Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I see the, the smiles and whatnot as you share about the journey because I get it, man. Like sometimes we're headed down one way and it's just like, nope, this door,
No,
no matter how hard we knock on it, it's not coming down, and we get
yeah,
redirected. And, sometimes it can be a little frustrating because like, man, I just want to get to my destination. But, these rerouting opportunities, right? They allow us sometimes to get this more thorough perspective of what it is we're actually after, right? Like it
yeah,
sounds like now you can really speak from so many different lenses and give people that holistic, almost like seeing multiple practitioners at the same time. when you're able to really support them. So I think that's tremendous, man. And you
Yeah.
know, for someone who's an osteopath, even for me, like I in Canada, right? Like my career corporate wise was about a decade in group benefits, right? So I was really supporting businesses and helping them to get, say osteopath coverage and massage coverage and all those other kind of things covered through their work, right? And so what I often found is that I'm reading through this list of practitioners who you get coverage from, who you don't. And to me, even being in the industry, I'm like, I don't really know the difference between these types of practitioners. And why would I go to an osteopath over a massage therapist? Right. And it's actually through like real life experience. Like my wife actually went to an osteopath when we were in Canada, and she shared with me what the experience of a session is. And I'm like, my goodness, I like that sounds like a real nice mix of like, if you will, the Western approach, and then also like, maybe something that maybe a lot of our cultures are familiar with from older times, right? It
Yeah.
really brings it full circle. And like I was so surprised when she was telling me that, tapping into energy and you're talking, but also doing physical, like a combination of things. So I think that the education really around what these different fields, what they can support you with is so, so important. And I think that people are really going to get a good feel for that through our conversation today. And,
Absolutely.
for everyone tuning in today, this conversation that we're having, I think is one that we can all really relate to. It's actually around chronic pain and how we can support our healing through that, right? And I think Dr. G, you've really shared a lot about, your role seems to really be about empowering people so they can really champion their pain, right? And I think sometimes we just need a little help, maybe asking the right questions so that we can understand what's actually going on and then how we can create a blueprint to successfully navigate through that. So, my first question to you for today, man, is what's something that you feel is misunderstood entirely about pain?
This happens like almost everybody. We go through this, right? Most people fight pain. They try to fight it instead of understanding it. And this is what keeps a lot of people stuck. When people experience chronic pain, the first thing that comes to mind is we have to push through this. They have to numb the pain, and they do this through medications. They do through this, over exercising or surgery and stuff like that. But from my experience and what I've done with, you know, what I've studied in the last few years is that pain, you just need to understand that
Mm,
pain is just something that you conquer. It's not something you conquer. Pain is a message from our
yeah.
soul.
Mm,
I talked about the redirections of the universe, right? Pain is actually one of those redirections, right?
mm,
So the way our soul works is, I don't know if you've done much work about this stuff, but when we come into this incarnation, when we are born, we choose our where we're gonna go, how we're gonna learn and evolve into the beings that we want to evolve in. So we choose the experiences along the way that we are going to learn, right? So we come in with a purpose. There's a lot of talk in our space about alignment with our purpose,
right.
higher purpose, and stuff like that, right? But along the way, because we are growing up with people, our parents, our uncles, our cousins, our colleagues at work, our teachers, the doctors that we come across. Those people have gone through different experiences. They've gone through their own life, basically. And
Mm,
they throw in this little, 2 cents of how they see life and stuff like that. But not necessarily the stuff that they teach us or they tell us is aligned with our our purpose.
right.
So when we get out of the way, we move out of our alignment from our way, we get knocked back in through
Mm,
pain, through disease, and through stuff like that. So when someone decides they're going to numb the pain or push through that pain, they're actually not understanding why that pain is created.
right.
So that pain is created for them to actually sit back and find the lesson. Why is this pain happening?
Right.
Right? Because if you look at pain, pain is not random. Like, why is someone getting pain on the left shoulder,
Mm,
not the right shoulder?
right.
Right? They're right-handed. Why are they getting it in the left shoulder? It's not random. That left shoulder is sending a message. Is saying there is something that is happening around that shoulder. For example, we talk about if headaches, for example. Headaches, again, it's pain that is not random. Why are we getting headaches? Talk about stress is headaches, but when you look deep into headaches, for example, they come from a lot of self-criticism, people who criticize themselves a lot,
Mm,
because they want to go one way, they want to follow their path, which is their purpose, but society expects them to go elsewhere. Like say, example, take a wife who wants to progress in her career, professional, right?
yeah,
Now she has kids at home and a husband. Society expects her to look after the home, but she wants to climb the ladder in the corporate world.
yeah,
You find that they go into this what I call friction. The higher purpose says you go in this, but the expectations are doing this, and it creates that friction, and that friction is the one that creates the pain.
okay,
And
mm,
then now, when people go into that, they try to again to fight the pain by medications, by doing all medications and other stuff that they're trying to get rid of the pain because they're trying to get rid of it. But you
right,
can't get rid of the pain when the source of pain is still present.
understood,
Um, so I think once we get to understand that pain is just a message,
gotcha.
you know, it's a message from our soul. We just need to sit and listen to it. You don't need to beat the pain. You just need to become what I call become a friend.
Mm, interesting.
Just become a friend.
Yeah, it's
A
interesting.
good friend.
I've been hearing this idea of becoming friends with those things that we've previously, felt uncomfortable with, or we really try to push away at a distance, right? And I like what you're saying. You're really encouraging, almost accept that invitation to be like, what are you trying to tell me? Right? It's almost like a dog. It's like, dogs, like they bark and all they're doing is barking, but we're assuming if we listen to them that they're saying different things, right? So it's almost like if we paid half as much attention to our bodies and what they're trying to tell us as we do to maybe a dog or a pet, we might be a little bit further ahead in understanding what's really at the root of some of these things that are really bogging us down.
Yeah. You bring up a very, very good point there. Because we do all these things really, really well for
Yeah,
others and other things. We listen well to our friends. When our friend, I always tell people that, when people are mad, when someone is mad, they want to punch a wall. What's the first thing you tell them? Breathe,
yeah,
right? Breathe. But when I tell people to breathe, like a patient in front of me, I'm like, breathe. They're like, why I'm breathing? I'm like, but you tell your friend to breathe when they're in pain, but you're not
yeah,
doing it yourself, right? So that's something that people do, which we'll talk about it as well later. It's something that is ingrained in our upbringing. It's ingrained in our programming, which it's not our fault. It comes with where we come from. Not
yeah.
where we come from, but where we are raised, the culture and the
I
tendencies
hear you.
the habits that we get from our upbringing.
Yeah, I hear you. You when you were sharing about like, if someone has shoulder pain, say on the left, and they're right-handed, so it's not making sense. We can't rationalize it, right? I find that really interesting because as I've been, doing some more work around healthy masculinity and, some workshops around that and whatnot, something that's come up in there is an exploration of pain. And I actually came across these pain charts. I'm not sure if there's a formal name for them. Maybe you can let me know, but essentially what they did is they have the full body front and back and they do like circles around different areas. So it's like, oh, if you have forearm pain on your left side, for example, this is really tied to this type of uh, thing that's not emotionally resolved, for example. Right? So, for me, left forearm, that bugs me sometimes. And that's tied to, according to this chart, this desire to please people, right? So I find it very interesting because oftentimes it's just like, oh, my leg's hurting. I probably played soccer and I played maybe a little bit longer than I needed to, right? We usually don't go to those other layers of like, this could possibly be tied to an emotion or something that I need to really deal with, right? And I think this ties really nicely into something that you're known for saying, which is the body knows the truth, right? I've heard a variation of this, which is that the body keeps the score, and I know that that's a book. But I'd love for you to share with me, like, how do you connect the body knows the truth and this idea of chronic pain, and how can we really harness that and use that to our advantage?
Um, those charts are actually true because you find that all different ones. I'll give you sort of a like of a basic, um, just a basic breakdown of how that works. So what I've learned through my my NLP training and stuff like that, they mention that the right side is actually masculine side.
Mm,
So issues with the father figure, father, work, bosses and stuff like that. And the left side, this is given that you are right hand dominant.
right.
So the right hand side is attached to the father figures, the man side, the masculine side of the things, and then the left side is more, the mom, the softer side of your personality. Right? So that's sort of the breakdown of why left hand and not right hand. So I'll give you an example. I had a patient a couple of years ago, a gentleman, I think he was in his 50s, I think. He comes into treatment and he comes in with his wife, right? So sees me for the first time, shoulder pain, left shoulder pain. And this obviously left shoulder pain mostly is attached to the heart, right? So anyone who has shoulder pain that goes into the arm, they're thinking heart attack, but he had all that cleared. So from what he tells me, he's seen so many specialists, heart specialists, and at the time he was seeing me, he was seeing either a physio or a chiro once or twice a week, and he
Okay.
had been doing that for 2 years. And these people told him that there's nothing wrong inside him, right? Um, but what he was experiencing was anxiety, like
Mm,
very intense anxiety episodes that he got. Um, so there was this cycle of anxiety and the shoulder pain. So I asked him, like, which causes what? Does the anxiety cause the shoulder pain, or the shoulder pain causes anxiety?
mm,
And he
mhm.
said the shoulder pain causes anxiety. I'm like, okay, cool. So let's go back down. Let's strip it down to when does the pain? When do you get the anxiety? Like he was a manual work. I think he's a mechanic, so he lifts
Okay.
engines all the time. So the pain and the anxiety only came at 10 p.m.
Okay.
It didn't come at work when he was lifting weights, lifting engines. It came at 10 p.m. when he was at home.
Mm, okay.
So what are you doing at 10 p.m.? Like what's happening at 10 p.m.? Like they didn't have kids; it was just the two of them in the house. What's happening at 2 p.m. at 10 p.m. Um, and when does it? Or like where are you in the house at 10 p.m.? He's laying on the couch watching TV, and then all of a sudden it just pops up.
Okay.
The pain starts, and then he goes into like anxiety attack, like intense anxiety attack.
Mm, mm,
I'm like, okay, that's quite interesting. So you're on the couch. What time do you sleep? No, I prefer to sleep at midnight. Okay, cool. What time does your wife sleep? She wants to sleep at 10 o'clock.
uh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, there's the source of the pain.
Hmm,
So
interesting.
you're creating this pain right now so that she doesn't have to sleep or you don't have to sleep. One of the two, because you don't want to sleep at 10. She wants
Wow.
to sleep at 10. So you create this pain in the left shoulder again, because you're carrying her there, right? Shoulder, we carry people on our shoulder or left
Yeah.
shoulder. So he's creating that pain so that she stays with him so they can sleep until whenever he wants to sleep. So he doesn't have to feel bad by staying up when she goes to bed.
Wow. That is wow. Oh man. That's blowing my
So
mind right now.
so when I said that to him, he thought I was crazy, right? But let's go back a step further. So when they came into to treatment, Like, he is talking, he's the patient, she's just accompanying, right? So she is answering my questions for him.
Mm.
So for me, because I've done this, I've been doing this for some time, so I know when two people come, the one who answers the questions is most. That's where the problem comes from.
Okay.
Almost always, if it's the husband answering the questions for the wife, it's almost always that's he's the emotional source of the pain. So actually even told her that you are the cause of his problem before I knew that about the 10 o'clock thing. And then, sometimes I'm direct. Like, I was just like that. I'm like, you are the one causing the problem. And then she looked at me funny. uh, uh, but at that moment, after he told me about the 10 o'clock issue, he went. The lady had a call, and then she left the treatment room. And while she was gone, I gave him a little technique. It was literally one question that he needs to ask himself. Ask yourself this question and sit and listen and find the answers. And you do this when she is not there. Either
Hmm.
she could be sleeping or just do it when she's not in your presence. Um, and then he realized that I was like what I was saying. There was some substance to what I was saying.
Right.
And then he took the advice, went back home, and he did the exercise. He came back the following week, and he had not had that anxiety attack.
Wow.
And that's something that he had been he had been experiencing for 2 years, every single day for 2 years. Then
Wow.
after that, that Friday, he came back the next Friday, and the shoulder pain was gone. Had not experienced that anxiety attack in that time. And I saw him for like four or five times over a 6 week period. And in that time, I think he only had one episode, and which was a lot milder because he understood what was happening.
Hmm. That's really interesting, man, because like that even in my marriage, for example, like I'm kind of more of a night owl. My wife goes to bed a bit earlier, things like that. I hear about this dynamic quite regularly, where, husband and wife don't necessarily go to bed at the same time, and, husband deals with some pain and all these discomforts and things like that. It's helping me to actually flash back to moments of myself in my own lived experience and things I've observed from the people around me. And, this makes a whole lot of sense, man.
Yeah.
Like I think,
No, like
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that, right?
yeah,
And in this case, there was no communication, there was no understanding,
mhm,
right? The two of them didn't were not on the same page. Like, she could have slept at 10, he slept at midnight. But if they had an understanding, I'll come to
right,
bed at, you know, midnight and I'll cuddle you all night, or, some sort of arrangement or whatever that they both are happy with, they
understood.
would have been fine. But at the
Yeah,
moment he was, because I think they've been married for some time. They didn't have kids, so there was just them basically against the world. So when they get to that point, she probably didn't feel safe, secure, whatever, with him not in bed for the first 2 hours. But he
mhm,
wanted to sit there and just wind down, because his work is dealing with people who are unhappy about their cars and blah blah blah. When he comes home, there's someone there, so he probably just needed that break
yeah,
before
I
he
got you.
goes to bed. So yeah, until we just have to get an understanding,
Yeah,
and then everything will be fine. It just, I was talking about that friction earlier. That's the problem. If there is no friction, there's no issue. Yeah. So
right,
to smoothen out that friction, we just need that straight communication. This is understanding. You're doing this. We're on the same page, and there's no
yeah.
issues about it.
For sure. And what a basic of, foundational principle for any healthy, successful relationship, right? Just for us to
Yeah.
clearly communicate. Sometimes, I think we do especially when we're familiar with somebody, whether that's a spouse or maybe a good friend, we kind of make these
Yeah.
assumptions around, oh, they'll just know what I'm doing or they understand, like we don't
Yeah.
feel the need to explain ourselves. And I think, just us going that extra mile to actually communicate what we're already thinking, right, in our mind, to that
Yeah.
person. I think that can really go a long way in easing so much friction and tension that can exist, right? So,
Oh,
thank you for that,
absolutely.
man.
Yeah.
Um, so, something I want to ask you is, when you see people, right? And, they've been doing the whole journey of, say, extra exercise and medication and therapy and whatnot, right? Is really
So I
tackling it.
think you're cutting a little bit there.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Now you're sort of going in and out.
Okay, is this any better?
It
Can you
says
hear me
it's
now?
connecting. I don't know.
Okay, okay. It's showing full on my side. Internet looks full as well. Is your
Yeah,
internet connection okay?
yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, it's back now. I don't know what's going on. Yeah,
Okay, so we're good now?
yeah, we're good now.
Okay, awesome.
You're
So I wanted
just
to
a
know,
bit blurry now, but it's good. Yeah,
okay, hopefully that can buffer out. What I
yeah.
want to ask you is, how do you think we can really help people, to actually pursue people like yourself who can support them in the way you can, right? Earlier than when they're tending to come to it, like after they've done all the medication, like you're talking about, after they've done a lot of the therapy, maybe they've over exercised thinking that's going to correct whatever is going on, right? How do you find you can really get through to people to encourage them to maybe embrace, a practitioner like yourself earlier in that journey so we can actually cut out some of those long way around methods, like when we're popping all these pills and medication. I mean, at the end of the day, we're kind of we're solving for one problem, but kind of creating side effects that are just going to lead to a whole bunch of others, for example, right? So how do we get people to the place where they actually start exploring this more as a first resort rather than a last resort?
There's a lot of reprogramming that needs to be done.
Mm,
Like we come from cultures or backgrounds where pain is an external problem. Like pain is understood as something external. It's happening to me, right?
mm,
Um, so we just need to continue doing this work that we do, just educating people that pain is a symptom. Pain is not the problem. Like if you look at science now, I think they're starting to classify chronic pain as a disease. Like
mm,
chronic pain itself, I think they're starting to classify it as a disease, as an
really?
entity on its own. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm,
Which again, it perpetuates that whole programming that the first thing you do when you're in pain is to go get pop that pill. The first thing you do when you're in pain, you go to the go to the doctor. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Like any form of healing, any form of a therapy that can help you give you that relief momentarily while you go, you take that step forward. When you come to me, for example,
right.
it's good, right? But we just must have the understanding that pain, again, like I said earlier, pain is a messenger. Like pain is just a message from the soul saying we need to change something. Something needs to
Mm,
change. We've been doing this for a while. We need to change. Um,
right.
because when you look at the physical body itself, the physical body is designed to conserve energy. We conserve energy. So when you stub your toe, you're going to limp. You're limping not because you want to limp. You're limping to protect the leg that's hurt, right? That's what the body does, and you don't think about it. Just body that limps. But if that pain, the foot that you stubbed, is in pain for quite a long time, you're going to maintain that limping habit for a long
Yeah.
time now. Now the body
Right.
has to adjust to that new way of walking, right? And then over time, because that's not how it's designed to walk, it's going to start
Right.
causing pain, compensatory pain in other parts of the body,
Got it.
you know. Um, so I think until we get to understand that, pain is just sending us a message to say, that, something just has to change. The pains that like someone falling off a tree, for example, they break a leg. And again, for me, sometimes I can go a little bit crazy sometimes. So when someone comes to me and said, I fell off a tree and I broke my arm, I'm like, why did you decide to break the arm?
Okay.
Like, like there are many people who have fallen off a tree, they didn't break anything.
Mm, interesting. Wow. Okay, doctor.
You
What a
know, I'm like,
question.
we know many people who have fallen off a tree, didn't break anything. We know many people who have gone through terrible car crashes, came out unscathed.
Hmm,
Um, I asked that question, why did you decide to do that? There are people who are walking on a flat surface, they twist an ankle and break the whole leg.
Right.
Like walking on a flat surface, wearing normal shoes, they twist an ankle, they break the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Ask
hear.
the question, why did you decide to break the leg then? So um, I think for us, it's our duty to continue to do work like this, to put the word out there. The work that we're doing is not easy.
Right.
Like right now, I'm making this sound so easy. It's terrifying to tell someone to go inwards to find the source of that. It's terrifying.
Right.
When I was talking about the gentleman with the left shoulder pain, like for
Mhm.
him to actually even comprehend that his wife was the cause of the pain, someone that she loves,
Right.
it's terrifying
I hear you.
because
Yeah. Mm.
there's so many questions that can come after that. You know what I mean? If she's causing me this pain, does she actually,
All right.
does she actually love me that much? You know what I mean? Like there's so many things that can come out of that
Yeah.
question.
I can imagine.
Um, like last week I was talking to another patient who actually came to me through, a lot of my videos that she saw on my socials, right? And she's coming to me for shoulder pain, so as an
Mhm.
osteo. Because at the moment I'm actually my practices are separate, so I'm doing osteo and then I do my chronic pain work on the side.
Okay.
It just yeah. She comes to me, but she has seen the other work as well. So and she loved the way I do things. So we were sitting there. I think we had probably 2 hours of just talking. And by the end of the chat, her pain was almost gone, even before I did any hands-on work.
Mhm.
And then she keeps sending people to me as well who are on that same path. But these are the people who are already taking that
Right.
step. We're already questioning. We're already curious about pain. Why am I
Mhm.
still here? Why is this pain still here? Why is it not shifting? Like we look at also, there are even people who are here like us, healers. I see
Mhm.
this often. Healers, people who I would say more enlightened than the average person.
Mhm.
They're still stuck in pain.
Yeah. True.
Like
Very true.
they're doing all the good things. They're yoga, they do meditations, they doing all this work, but there's still something that they're not shifting.
Mhm.
And because to get here, you literally have to dig deep, and some of the stuff that you dig is it's going to challenge your entire existence.
For sure. For
So,
sure.
um, and then I think, yeah, once we remove that fear of what's going to happen when I remove this,
Mhm.
um, we will be able to reach more people. I had someone that I was talking to as well about headaches, and I was telling her that for she's got 3 kids, married, happily married, had headaches for a long time, and I was talking about for you to be able to change, to shift pain, you have to be a different person. You have to change your personality.
Mm.
And her first
Well,
response was, "I don't want to change who I am."
okay. Yeah.
And then
There's your answer.
I'm like, but the person you are now is the person who is creating these headaches. For you to shift from a person who has headaches to someone who doesn't have headaches, you have to be someone else. You have to
Hmm.
be completely someone else. So this work actually changes personality.
Wow.
So a lot of people are actually scared of the person they are going to become
I get that.
because the person they are going to become is someone who is going to say, you know what, this marriage doesn't work for me this way, the way it is.
Hmm. Hmm.
This job doesn't work well for me. It's not the right job for me.
Right.
This person is not the right person for me. So they have to make those tough decisions. So
Hmm.
if someone has been married for 10, 14 years, you know what I mean, and they all of a sudden they realize that their spouse is the source of the problems, and they're not willing to change that. That's a very difficult thing to ask someone to get into. So what
Right.
they rather do, they go back and say, "I'll suffer in silence."
That's wild, man. I mean, it's that classic, like, choosing the pain that you know versus, the pain of changing into something else, right? I think it comes back to something we shared at the intro, right? It's like, do we have almost the courage, if you will, to ask the right questions, the questions that we know we need to ask? And are we brave enough or ready enough to actually receive answers that might be different from what we're hoping to hear? Right?
Yeah.
It's such a tough spot, and like I feel like you wear so many different hats. It's like you're therapist, you're helping their body, like you almost have to be ready for anything. It sounds like, man, like because of the different information you have to deliver and how that might be received depending on where they're personally at, with being able to receive that info. So I can imagine like you have no 2 days that look the same. It sounds like they
Nah,
really
nah.
can keep you on your toes, man.
Yeah. As actually one of my patients last week. It's a older chap. I think it's late 60s. He was like, you know what? I need to start paying you. He's an osteo patient. He's like, I need to start paying you double for my psychology sessions.
He's not wrong.
Like, you're not wrong, you know. Uh, but yeah,
Oh man.
my days are they're never the same.
Yeah.
Like, and this also came up after I started to get into this work because I got to a point where in my early osteo career where I was actually burnt out. Asking getting to that point, asking those
Hmm.
questions, nothing is shifting, and I'm seeing the same thing, but it's just the conversation was just around pain, around disease, and stuff like that, right?
Right.
But once I started to explore the other side of things, like I'm asking different questions. Someone comes
Mhm.
to me and I know they are ready to get into this work. So I'll ask them,
100%.
say one word, and they say something, I'm like, they're ready, and then we go into this work. And then
Mhm.
someone I say, for people I say this, and then you see that wall already, that big
Yeah.
wall. I'm like, okay, they're not ready. We'll
Yeah.
stick with osteo for a while, right?
I hear you.
But along the way, I will always throw in a seed. I always throw in a seed
Yeah. And
because
I think
eventually,
that's
after
something.
time, that's yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's something that is often misunderstood about, any sort of field that deals with trying to help people with their healing, right? To help guide them. It's like you have a lot of responsibility on you, right? Because you have all this knowledge, but at the same time, they need to be at a place where they're ready to actually receive it and put it into practice, right? So I think that the start and stopness of being a practitioner and a healer, I think that's often, that's not something that we really talk about, right? Because for as many people as, might come and say, I'm ready now, right? That might be like 1 in 5, right? So there's a lot of this work and, continuing to really take care of that seed that we plant to see if they'll really open up to something with no guarantees whatsoever, right? So I think that, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that you tend to do, to really help guide and provide the right guidance for your people, man. So, kudos to you and thank you for doing all that work that people might not ever know about, to help
Yeah,
bring them that relief that they're seeking, man.
yeah. Thanks. No,
So,
it's yeah.
something,
This is
yeah,
brilliant, but it's like it's that seed. You gotta throw in that seed all the time. This is again the good thing about social media nowadays, right? Keep
yeah,
putting stuff out there. Someone will hear it. You know,
for sure.
um, someone will, and talking about the right time because there is the right time.
Absolutely.
You can take a horse to the river. Yeah? Like that's
Hmm.
a very true statement. You can take a horse to the river, you can't force it to drink. Right? So we
100%.
can bang this on a lot of people's heads. If they are not ready at that time, it will not stick.
Yeah, very true.
Like I've got a group of I run my meditations at weekly 2 nights meditations. At the beginning when I started, we had like a large group. The first 2 weeks, large group, and
Hmm.
one of them, the members who comes to the meditations, she was brought in by her friend.
Okay.
So her friend saw my post about the meditation, got excited, pulled her friend in. She came. She only came for two sessions. The friend stuck. The friend who was brought in, she
Yeah.
stayed.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay.
Because her other friend who saw the thing, she thought she was ready until she realized she was not ready.
Yeah, I
Right.
got you.
So that's what it is. And we also talked about again earlier about the obstacles that come in our way. Now we'll do things until we are ready to see that obstacle is actually not an obstacle. It's just a redirection. It just say stop, reset, listen. Are we
Yeah.
supposed to go this way, or are we supposed to take a different way?
Yeah.
Which, in our probably as men, we're taught to push through the obstacles. Yeah,
Definitely.
we come. I think we come into business as well. We are supposed to push through. If something is hard, push through it, get the other way, and then keep going.
Yeah. Absolutely. So
Yeah,
so true.
yeah,
Since you are a specialist when it comes to pain, I think that a question that I really would love to know from you, from your perspective, it's often something that I hear. It's like, men and women have different pain thresholds, right?
yeah.
Now, how would you respond to that? And how could we more effectively communicate that idea? Because I find sometimes when it's shared, it's kind of done in a way that brings the other side down, almost implying that they're weaker than the other. So I'm curious, what's your take on that, man? How do you navigate that kind of conversation?
Um, again, we talked about personality. We talked about programming. Yeah. So when you come to pain, pain one is a symptom. Pain is not the thing. It's not a disease. Like for example, it's
Right.
something that comes after something, right? So that
Mhm.
something could be someone fell off the tree, broke a leg, and
Right.
they have to patch it up because otherwise they'll die. So the pain was created by the brain or the system to protect us from threat, to prevent us from dying, right?
Mhm.
So if someone decides to cut their arm, if they don't stop cutting their arm, they're going to bleed and die. So what happens
Right.
is the brain sends no, the messages from the cut go to the brain, and then the brain thinks that's an artery that you cut. You cut a vein. We got to close it up, right?
Mhm.
And then it sends pain back into the arm.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
growing up, we were taught to receive pain differently.
Okay.
As men, we can't show pain.
Mhm.
That's our culture, right? We are not meant to show pain. We are taught
Right.
not to show pain. We are not taught to be vulnerable because it's weakness. It shows weakness. Whereas
Yeah.
women are women are taught to actually embrace pain, and actually they are expected to feel pain than men.
Mhm. Mhm.
So a man and a woman can, for example, they lose a loved one in a group.
Yeah.
A woman can cry. A man is not expected to cry.
Mhm. True. Yeah.
So that's expectations, right? So that creates on its own, that created this in, the kind of the difference in how we perceive pain and how um, our thresholds in pain. Because if I was taught not to cry when I'm hurt, my
Mhm.
pain threshold is gonna rise,
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
because that's how the body works, right? Like when you go to the gym, you lift weights, for example, the muscles get bigger because you getting stronger. So that's potentially how we as men are perceived, as we have higher thresholds. But the basic physiological level, though, with women, we look at estrogen, for example, their hormones, their pain thresholds will change depending on their cycle. They can be tough one day, and then the next day they are on the floor all curled up crying. So physiologically they have that up and down
Right.
issues with pain, but most of it is all down to programming. So if
Okay.
we were to strip it back to, let's program these people to the same level of pain, like if you were
Mhm.
to take soldiers, for example, a female soldier and a man soldier, the pain threshold is going to be the same, because almost the same, because they're trained the same way. They
Right.
just train their bodies to receive pain the same way.
I got
So
you.
I don't think we are designed the way we come in as a template, like as a physical body, to have one person receive pain differently from the other.
Mm.
There may be those like hormonal changes that create that, but I believe that most of it is just programming. And how do we communicate it to people in a way that no one feels like they are, one is better than the other? It's just more, I think, just more compassion.
Okay.
It's just saying this with compassion, because we need to understand that pain is actually real. Like pain is 100% real. There's no making up pain. So when
Right.
someone feels pain, they actually feel it because it's created by their brain to, in response to a threat or a potential threat.
Right.
And how they see that pain it's a subjective. It's a subjective experience. It's like no two people who experience pain the same way.
Hmm.
Like people can go through the same event. I
Right.
think you've seen, for example, Tony Robbins' firewalk, for example.
Yeah.
How do people walk on fire, man, barefoot?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't even step on one ember on the floor. You know what I mean? So it's just the way we program ourselves.
Mm. Okay.
And then if you start to understand that pain is just it's a subjective experience that we all go through, and we
Hmm.
just must acknowledge that those are the things that like communicate with the compassion. We
Yeah.
can't just say men are tough, women are not. We comprehend pain differently. Even within the male community, for example,
Hmm.
right? If you take a group of 100 men, there's going to be one who doesn't feel pain. There's going to
Yeah.
be one that you touch and they're in so much pain. You know what I mean? And I see it
100%.
all the time. Like in my work, there are men that I can go in or dig in with my elbow and they're not even shifting. There are one that I
Right.
just place a finger and they're jumping off the bed. You know what I mean? So it's
100%.
all dependent on an individual.
Gotcha. Okay, I appreciate that, man. Thank
Yeah,
you. Because that's definitely something that does come up every now and then. It's a
yeah,
little poking and prodding that happens sometimes. Like that conversation of men could never handle childbirth, for example. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I don't know how to, I don't know how to side by side compare that to you to show you anything. You know what I mean? So I think that
yeah,
helps. So thank you for that, man.
yeah.
You
No,
know,
yeah,
wi-
it's just a different. Like even females, were like I said, like no two men can handle pain the same. Same
right?
thing, no two females can handle pain the same way. Some women can handle childbirth, no medication, nothing.
Yeah,
Some will have to take all the 20,000 painkillers they can take just to go through it. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
all subjective.
100%.
It's just subjective experience.
Yeah. So, something I want to ask you, since it is International Men's Day and the whole month is kind of focused on men and our mental health, I wanted to ask you your take on some of the habits that we as men tend to hold on to that keep us trapped in these cycles of pain, right? And, I just want to share from my side, one that I see a big time, when my family
Yeah.
being of Guyanese heritage is often when, the men are in pain, it's a drink that they go reach for. You know what I mean? And then they almost drink themselves to the point that they can finally close their eyes, get some sleep, only to start the cycle over again the next day. You know what I mean? So I'm curious from your perspective, maybe even building on that or sharing your own experience around, alcohol and how we try and uh, push through pain with it. I'd love to hear from you what you're seeing that as men we're kind of keeping ourselves trapped versus freeing ourselves when that option is just as equally available to us.
So that one takes us back to that hard question of going deep inside, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So what's in the bottle? What is inside that bottle? What does it do to us? It just
Mm.
numbs the stuff that's before that, right? There's
Yeah.
something before the bottle that we are trying to run away from, and
Hmm.
most of it is or almost all the time is emotions. What are we feeling? What are the emotions that we are experiencing that are forcing us to go to the bottle? So
Right.
when we are feeling pain again, I said the source of the pain is emotions. So as men, we are not taught to express our emotions. We are not taught to embrace our emotions. We must be tough.
Hmm.
Boys don't cry,
Right.
right? Actually, talking about boys don't cry, I read my little girl. She got a book from the library. It says boys don't cry.
I know that one. Yeah. Oh, well, I should pick that
you
up.
know,
Amazing.
but yeah, boys don't cry. I thought it was quite interesting. But um, the one habit that we must break away from as men especially now, is this month. That's something that we're also teaching through the month, is to be okay with expression, to be okay to say I'm not okay.
Mm. Hmm. Big one.
If we can find the courage, if we can find the strength, the stuff that you are doing with your men's work, the stuff that we are doing is just to encourage that um, kind of bravery to to open up the floor to men to come in and say, I'm not okay, and I know
Hmm.
that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Because we run for the bottle because we are not okay,
Yeah. I hear
and
that.
we want something in that short moment that will sort of numb everything out. And unfortunately, those things, they disconnect us from who we are. They disconnect us from our purpose. Right? So,
Right.
and the more bottles we drink, the further apart we go away from our purpose.
100%.
And unfortunately, when that happens, that friction gets bigger. That whisper that the soul is sending to us, that message to us, say, wake up, wake up. It gets louder and louder and louder.
Right.
And when it gets louder, we get more pain. It's more pain, more pain, more pain. Pain gets bigger to a point where it becomes so unbearable that we keep running to the bottle all the
Mm. I got you.
time.
Hmm.
How do we break away from it? I think just, like you asked before, just keep doing the work that we do for us anyway. Like, I think, we talked about this a while back that as men, we find it hard to be vulnerable. We find it hard to open up.
Yeah.
Even to a stranger, it doesn't have to be someone we know. We just find it hard to let our guard down as well, right?
Hmm.
Because of we are not men enough. We
Right.
can't cry. It's not manly. So if we can embrace that we are humans, we are here to evolve, to learn, to be better souls, be better for others, and to also understand that when we actually heal, we give others permission to heal. Like when I'm
Absolutely.
healed, my family is healed. When I'm not healed, when I'm in pain, when I'm ill, my family goes, they all become sick.
Hmm.
Like physically, I know this personally because every time because sometimes I go into this mode of I work, 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 and I forget that I need to do some self care, right? I know that sometimes because my kids will become sick, and
Ah, I got you.
it's almost always like they will be sick. And then when they become sick, a day later, I am sick as well.
Mm. So your
So
environment's communicating with you at all times if you're willing to listen.
yeah,
Mm. Interesting, man. I think that's a huge lesson.
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't, I,
What we can do is we can wrap here for the first one, right?
yeah,
Okay. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for today. I've really enjoyed this convo with you, man. I've learned a lot. And I'm really excited for us to continue talking about this and all other things, that we find passion and purpose with because, I really enjoy talking to you, man. And I feel the
uh,
alignment
th-
and I feel the soul's purpose over there, man. So I appreciate you.
yeah. Thanks, brother. No,
All right.
thanks for having me on. And yeah,
You're
we'll,
most
we'll
welcome.
organize another one either next week or the week after.
Okay, sounds good. I'll shoot you a message and we'll chat, man. All right. Much love to you, bro.
Yeah,
Have a good day.
absolutely, man. Thanks, man.
All
You
right.
too, buddy.
All right. Okay, bye.